Hi, I'm Jody. Welcome back to my OG files. In the very first lesson, we learned the first phonogram. A says A for apple. Today, we're building on that foundation by introducing the next phonogram. M says for mountain. In this lesson, we'll practice listening for the sound learning the lowercase letter formation for the letter M, blending sounds to read words, segmenting sounds for spelling, and strengthening these skills through review and repetition. Let's get started. You can find the worksheets that I use linked below. In this part of the lesson, we start with listening for the sound. So, we're listening for what sound comes at the beginning of these words. Moose, milk, mix, mint, monkey, mushroom. What sound comes at the beginning? Yes, and if your student has a tricky time, you can help them. You can guide them to reflect on what their mouth is doing when they're saying these sounds. At the beginning, moose, their lips are closed. There's a vibration in the throat. Yes, they all start with Okay, now we're going to use a dry erase marker and eraser, and they can show their understanding. So, mug, does that start with Yes, it does. Moon, does that start with It sure does. Pot, does that start with Nope, not that one. Melt, does that start with Yes. Hat, does that start with Mango, does that start with Yes. Yay, way to go. Now, let's make it a little bit more challenging. Where do you hear in these words? Gum, ham, yum, hum, ram, gem. So, if your students don't get the at the end, you can help by breaking up the sounds, and you can get them to practice breaking up the sounds too. This is a really powerful phonological awareness skill that they're going to need for spelling. So, gum, g, where's at the end? Ham, h, a, where's at the end? You can physically see it's right at the end. And again, sometimes breaking up sounds can be very tricky, so lots of practice, lots of help at the beginning stages is totally normal and good. Okay? Next one. Yum. Y, it's at the end. Hum. At the end. Ram. R, a, there's gem. J, a, at the end. Now, let's show that you understand. Rim, does that have at the end? Sure does. And you might not need to use the gems every time. Maybe just when it's tricky. Let's see. Next one. Sock, does that have no, it doesn't. Jam, does that have yes, lips are closed at the end. Sun, does that have no. That one's a little close, but no, it does not. Yam, does that have Sure does. Plum, does that have Yes, it does. Okay. And for that one, you need an extra gem to go You can use your fingers as well. Okay, next. Now that your student can recognize the sound you're ready to teach the letter and introduce the sound symbol relationship. So today we are learning M says for mountain. So reinforce talking about what your mouth is doing and what you feel in your throat when you're making the sound Lips are closed. If you put your hand on your throat, you can feel your voice vibrating. And you can hold the sound. And you want your student to say the story. M says, for mountain. M says for mountain. Get them to say it a few times, as many times as they need to until they can say it clearly and confidently. M says for mountain, and then you're going to teach them the penmanship formation. Now we're going to look at how to form the letter M. So you want your student to recognize very clearly and explicitly where the M sits in relation to the sky, grass, and ground. We use sky, grass, and ground with all the letters so you can see how they sit proportionally to one another. So the M starts at the top of the grass, it goes down to the bottom of the grass, up and touches the top of the grass, curving over down to the bottom of the grass, up and touching the top again, and down to the bottom of the grass. So we see it only sits in the grass. It doesn't go into the sky, it doesn't go into the ground. And at the top, the humps that are going over are the same height as the place where the letter M starts. So some really common errors with this formation are students starting at the bottom, or when they do start at the top, they're not going all the way to the top here, and sometimes it'll just get lower and then lower. So you want to be very clear and practice these good habits, making these formations correctly, because a lot of other letters start at this position, and when you get into the habit of starting there, it's going to make all the letters that start in that position much easier. So we're starting at the top of the grass, going down, up and over, up and over. You can put glitter glue on this card. You can get them to trace over the glitter glue so it has a tactile surface, and you can get them to trace on the table in front of them. You can get them to trace on at least 5 different tactile surfaces, like, okay, go trace on the wall, go trace on the back of your chair, go trace on whatever you have around you, or you can get things explicitly for your lesson that are tactile. But you don't necessarily need all of that. You can just be very simple and do the formation on the letter M. You can also do it in front. So air tracing. Your student is going to put their writing hand out in front of them. You can clasp your hand like that, and you're going to go down, up and over, up and over, down, up and over, up and over. Or you can get them to put their writing hand out in front of them and their other hand on their shoulder, down, up and over, just like that. Okay, lots of practice. Now you can practice making the letter M with this dry erase page protector, and when you start with the bigger M's first, it makes going down to the smaller ones easier. So just making sure that your students are starting at the green dot, going down, going up and touching the top. You're going to see all kinds of different challenges. One could be like what I mentioned earlier, something like that. If you do start with the dry erase, then you can, erase it and just have more practice this way. You could also see maybe starting too high. And again, you can erase if your students are already writers and maybe they're starting from the bottom. This is a good time to stop that and start from the top for more control and neater printing. And once you're finished with the dry erase M's, you can go ahead and use pencil and paper. Make sure you get a pencil that is going to work for your student, and use the tripod grip, pencil facing away, grab the bottom with 2 fingers, boop, tripod grip, ready to write. I'm going to use that in my lesson. Tripod grip, ready to write. Okay, here we go. So, down, up and over, up and over. You might also notice maybe that is happening, okay? So all of these errors are good errors are good because you can see what not to do and practice correcting it. Okay. Down, up and over, down, over, down, over. Now, students love choosing their best one. Okay? Find the best one from the big, medium, and small. Give it a check, give it a star, give it a heart, give it whatever you want. Show it some recognition. Alright, which one is my favorite? I'm liking this one. I am liking this one. And I'm liking this one. Woohoo! Next, we're going to practice blending sounds, which is a pre-reading skill. I'm going to show you how to prepare this. Prepare it once and you can use it over and over again with several students if you have many students, or with your child if you want extra practice. Okay, now you're going to give your student the sounds broken up and they're going to blend the sounds together to form a word. First one, a, p. Your student blends the sounds together. Map. You can demonstrate with the first one because this can be challenging. So do it as much as you need to until they get it. And the goal is that they're saying it nice and smoothly. Map. Okay, then they check. Are they right? Let's see. Yes, they are correct. Next one. A, p. Mop. Let's see. Yes, that is correct. A, g. Mug. Again, lots of demonstration and help is totally okay. Next one. J, e, m. J, e, m. Gem. Gem. Yes. That's correct. D, I, m. Dim. Might be a little tricky going from the d to the I, so you could demonstrate dim. Let's see. Dim. And if they're not sure what dim means, you can explain with the picture. The light is less bright. There's a dim switch there. Okay, last one. G, a, m. Gum. Let's see. Are you correct? Gum? Yes, you are. Way to go. Next, we're going to practice spelling by segmenting sounds. So I call this co-spelling because so far your student has only learned A says a for apple and M says for mountain. So we can't make a whole lot of words like that. So you are going to spell the sounds that they don't know. But they can break up the sounds, okay? So to start with, we're going to reinforce penmanship for the letter M and the story. M says for mountain, making sure they're starting in the correct spot, going up and touching the top, and saying the story. M says for mountain. M says for mountain. You want them to say this out loud because it's going to help them to remember it better. Starting from the top, saying it out loud. M says for mountain. M says for mountain. M says for mountain. And now we're breaking the sounds up and we're spelling map. A, p. Where's the at the beginning? So there's no green dot there. They're going to have to start from the top of the grass. Oh, and guess what? They also know a. Okay? They can do a. So to reinforce, the a starts a little bit below the dotted line there, coming up, touching the top, going all the way around, up and straight down, ah. And now you can spell p. They don't know p yet. They don't have to know p. They just need to recognize the sound and you can spell it. And that's your co-spelling. Okay, mat. They can spell that one. Ah. Oh, they can spell that one too. Ah. T. Okay, that's your job. T. You got t. There we go. Unless they know it, and then they can do it. But I'm creating these with the assumption that students only know ah and just to make it simple. Okay, next one. Man. Ah. And you can jump in for n. There we go. You're forming the n, showing how letters are formed from left to right, making words. Okay, next one. Ram. Oh, you're gonna have to start that one. So, sound do you spell? And then they can jump in for Next one. Jam. J. 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 You got that one? J. And then that's their job. There we go. Oh, I went a little high, but that's okay because we don't have to be too perfect. Okay, next one. Yam. Y. You have the y. They have the and the and then you can talk about the letter M. Where does it come in the words? Well, it comes at the beginning and it comes at the end. And you can reinforce things that you've already discussed. You can hold the sound you can feel the sound vibrating and you can even tell them that M is a consonant. And you can just say you're planting a seed for later when that's going to make more sense. M is a consonant. Okay? Next. These are all pictures for this overlearning game. And this game practices hearing words that have and words that don't have So all of these pictures have at the beginning or at the end, and all of these pictures do not have All of these words are listed on my lesson plan, which is linked below, so you don't have to guess when you're using this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut these out and you can see how I prepare it. We're ready to play. So you can let your student go first and choose a card. What do you have? Hum. Do you hear in hum? Yes. So go to the M. My turn. Cheese. Is there in cheese? No, there's not. Moon. In moon, yes. Goat. Oh, I have a again. No in goat. Monkey. Yes. Man. Yes, there's a in man. Duck. No Bed. You are the winner. Congratulations. You have won the game. Okay, so you can play this lots of times so your student has lots of practice hearing what words have and what words do not. Yay! You made it through the whole lesson. M says for mountain. To summarize, here's what we worked on today. We did listening for at the beginning of a word, listening for at the end of a word, and showing recognition of at the beginning and end. We learned the penmanship formation for the letter M. We did blending sounds to form words, a pre-reading skill. We did some co-spelling by segmenting sounds, spelling them, and you did review with this game, practicing to hear in words and hear words that don't have There are several things from this lesson that you can use to review says in future lessons, like the board game, the review card to make a deck, and the penmanship worksheet. You can use that with a dry erase marker on a page protector. In my next lesson, I'm going to go over the next phonogram in my series. N says N for nest. Thank you for learning with me, and I'll see you in the next lesson.